There is a lot of representation in video games about depression and anxiety, but what about schizophrenia or OCD or even BPD? I wanted to start this video with one question. What can games bring to people suffering from a mental illness? Playing as a character in video game is much more efficient and personal to transmit a message or a feeling than a movie or a book. That's one of the main reasons for us to be so drawn to games, especially when your actions have an impact in the whole narrative of the game, creating more immersion and an almost real sense of failure and victory. I think games that touch these topics can be called serious games. According to researchers, a serious game is a rule based formal system with a variable and quantifiable outcome, where different outcomes are assigned different values. The player exerts effort in order to influence the outcome, and the player feels attached to the outcome because of that. But a serious game is combined with a defined real life objective. Now, translating this into mental health, we can easily say that games which tackle these issues can be described as serious games. But is that a good or a bad thing? When I think about it, I think about Celeste, a platform video game that talks about depression and anxiety, and even shows and teaches a way of dealing with a panic attack. These games can be super useful to people with these problems or to educate others about these issues. Another game that is a good example is Cat Lady, a game that personally helped me understand better my depression and its vast complexity, how it can be so complicated. Even though the game could possibly be seen by others' point of view as dangerous because of the heaviness or the whole atmosphere and graphic design of the game, with constant brutal depictions about death and struggles in such a personal level at the start, that could even make you experience that same horror, possibly transmitting their issues to your real life experience. When I think about games supporting mental health, it only comes to mind games about depression and anxiety, just like these games that I talked about. For a person that suffers from hallucinations and such psychotic problems, most of the games that show these types of problems go to the realm of fiction or supernatural side of it, making me feel alienated, or even when it's depicted, it's a justification for a villain, leaving no space for development on the fact or just bluntly leaving the problem unsatisfied. Most people use gaming to deal with their struggle. But for me, my struggles in the video game community were romanticized. Even having people say that they wanted to have this and it would be kinda cool, and well, it would not. They are called struggles for a reason. Nowadays, I started hating horror games, feeling most of them use hallucinations as a narrative vehicle or just a game mechanic, using them because it's cool. For example, the Sanity affects Eternal Darkness. Though an old game, and for as good as a game it can be, it's a good example of using such mechanics that elude and induce the player with reactions that assimilate psychic disturbances, making it an interesting addition to the experience, but just adding to the cool factor of it, making the whole game triggering for someone with those symptoms. Mental illness is used as a plot point, or even a superpower, and maybe that should be something good, but it only makes me feel more ignored or dehumanized. Mental illness is not a superpower or something that makes me special. I'm a normal human being, a person, and I would like to see more well representations like that presenting as a normal thing instead of glamorizing it. In older games, like the one I talked about, it was common to use a person dealing with psychosis as a villain, creating a very negative connotation to people suffering with it. I still feel the repercussions of it and the little development it got until now. I know this video sounds a little pessimistic, but I feel like for one good game about this topic, there are 10 more that aren't given justice. Hellblade, more recently, is a game I still haven't played, but I think from what I've seen, it's an excellent example by using real people suffering with psychosis to discuss and incorporate their experience for the game. It's an incredible job giving a voice to these people. It's a game focused in a character with psychosis, and it even worked with mental health professional to depict this amazing narrative. It's already an incredible progress in the industry, showing the care the developers had in creating this incredible, accurate video game, incorporating almost every experience from someone suffering from psychosis into a well-written and developed character and world built around that representation, without much context or backstory, and it's just a well narrative and game by its own right, but just the fact that it incorporates that so accurate depiction of psychosis, it's incredible. Basically, my point in this video is about how nowadays there is an incredible and vast representation of depression and anxiety in video games. Though real life problems, and they should be tackled, but there is still a lot of other mental illnesses not receiving that respect while still being stigmatized like that. And I see video games as one of the best ways to get that message across, to put in the effort and the point of how it's out there and affects a great number of people. Just like the movie A Brilliant Mind, this industry, the gaming industry, can bring light and comfort to a large number of people suffering from these situations, or to people who are ignorant to these symptoms and mental issues, in many engaging ways and incredible stories and mechanics, just like Hellblade.